Hello, my name is Jason. Welcome to another episode of Smoking with my MES. Today I'm going to share with you how to break down a set of spare ribs into St. Louis style ribs. So why don't you join me? So here we have a standard pork spare rib that you get from your grocery store. It's untrimmed. So we're going to go ahead and share with you how you want to do this. So the first thing I want to be able to do is get this squared. When you look at St. Louis style ribs in the grocery store, they're always nice and straight and even, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and flip this over here, and in our minds we're just going to look for an imaginary line to go straight across, and that line for this particular set of ribs is right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And you're going to need a sharp knife for this, because towards the end here we have a pretty rough bone. So try to get that off. Okay, that piece is off. Now the next thing that we want to do is kind of even it off out here. Again, we just have some plain meat with very little bone in it, so we're going to go ahead and just square that off as well. So now we have spare ribs that are starting to look like St. Louis style, and they're looking pretty good. The next thing we want to do is flip them over and get rid of this silver skin or membrane on the back of the rib. You want to take this off because it's going to obstruct the smoke flavor from getting into your rib, as well as the seasoning, and this will not break down during the cooking process, so when you go to eat it, it's going to be a little tough. So here's a great trick on how to do that. Simply get a piece of paper towel. That's all you need. And just find yourself the corner. And you gotta, once you get it going here, sometimes it pulls off in a great strip and sometimes it's not. But here, as you can see, with the assistance of the paper towel, we pull that right off. And again, we're going to do that again. I'm going to use a smaller piece this time. There we go. We got a nice little section. That's now off. It's looking good. Now the next thing I want to do to clean these ribs up is look for the real sections of hard fat that's not going to break down during the cooking process. Right here we got a nice little clump of fat. I don't want that on, so I'm going to get that off. That's off. A lot of fat here. This is all just nasty fat that's not going to break down or cook, so I'm going to get rid of that as well. And on top here, you see this loose flab of meat. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that as well. So up top here, cut this off a little bit better. Trim that. That's looking pretty good. You can go crazy and cut more off if you like, but that's not too bad looking. I'm not going to worry about that. And on the back, we're going to kind of continue to do the same thing. Here's a big hunk of fat that's not going to cook or render during the cooking process. I want to get rid of that. Some more down here, get rid of that. And there you have it. The standard spare rib broken down and prepped to a St. Louis style rib. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside. And we're going to pull out another one and do it again. Now I want to bring up the fact that we have this nice section of pork here, and the pork that we cut up from the top. This is all great meat. In the restaurant, they may serve this as rib tips or boneless spare ribs. You know, again, this is a great piece of meat that can be seasoned and cooked. Serve it as a little appetizer while your friends and family are waiting for the main course of the ribs. So again, we're going to look at this particular rack and see where we want to cut it. Flip this over. And you can actually feel for the bone where the bone ends. And on this rack, my imaginary line is going to be like right here. So we're going to go ahead and cut that all off. This one came off much easier. I didn't really have to break through a lot of bone. And again, excellent piece of meat, but we just don't want that for our rack of ribs. And at the end, we're going to go ahead and square this one off as well. So there you have it, spare rib down, broken down to the St. Louis style. And again, on the back, we have this membrane that we don't want on here. We're going to go ahead and pull that off once again. Using our paper towel. See how it comes off relatively easy? Pull that right off. What this is actually doing is just giving you the ability to get a grip on the meat and pull it off. That's all the paper towel is doing for you. So again, this paper towel, pulling that off, all that silver skin or membrane. Now that's off. We're gonna go ahead and cut all this hard fat off that will not render during our cooking process, and that I personally do not want to eat. So a little more here. On this rack, off here. And again, the piece of meat is a little bit smaller on this, not as big as the other piece, other rack I should say. So we're going to go ahead and cut this all off. And looks pretty good. This fat here we're not going to worry about. So now we have 2 racks of spare ribs that were broken down the St. Louis style. They're all evenly shaped up and cut, so that way during this cooking process they will cook at relatively the same rate. They look good for presentation as well. Now the next thing I want to share with you is prepping the ribs for the smoker. So we're going to go ahead and use a mustard based sauce that I created. You can use your standard mustard, peanut oil, whatever you like. We're just going to put this on. And the only purpose of putting this mustard on, or peanut oil, whatever you like, is it's going to give the rub something to stick to. So that way it just doesn't come right off. So we've got that nicely coated. And do the other one. And if you don't like mustard, that's okay, because the taste of the mustard is going to cook off during the cooking process and you won't even taste it. So continue to do that. Alright, now it's time for some rub. You could use store-bought rub, whatever you like, or make your own. Kind of pressed for time today, so I'm just using a standard barbecue seasoning that I picked up at Restaurant Depot, made by Chef Quality. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that on. It's not coming out very good, so let me take this top off. There you go. Nicely coated. This rub has some sugar in it, paprika, garlic, some other spices. We're going to go ahead and do the other one now. Now we're going to go ahead and flip it over. We do that process again with the mustard. Now, I'm pressed for time today, so I'm not going to let these soak in the rub. We're going to go right into the smoker with these next. But if you have the time, you're going to want to try to allow these to sit overnight in the seasoning, or 4 to 5 hours at the least. Give that rub time to penetrate the meat and get in there. So again, with the seasoning, gonna go ahead and sprinkle that on. And with that membrane removed, all this seasoning is gonna be able to get into the meat much easier, along with the smoke flavor. Just about done here. Okay. Oop. Flip them over, we lost some of our rub. So once again, let's give them another shot. It's very warm out here. It's probably also contributing to the fact that some of this rub is just coming right off. High 90s in the northeast, very high humidity. Everyone's just sweating out here. All right, so there you go. Normal spare ribs, trimmed and cut down to St. Louis style. They look great. So now, wipe my hands off here real quick. Now I'd like you to follow me to our smoker. We're gonna put these in the smoker. Now, many of you like to cook your ribs following the 3-2-1 method or the 2-2-1 method at 225 degrees. 3-2-1 means 3 hours of smoke, 2 hours wrapped with your honey, brown sugar, wrapped and cooked for another 2 hours, and the final hour return to the smoker with just basic on the rack. In the last 45 minutes, add your favorite barbecue sauce. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and go against all conventional thinking. I've done this before, it works well. I have my smoker set to 275 degrees for 5 hours. That's how we're gonna cook them. We're not gonna come out here and wrap them or do any of the honey or barbecue sauce. You can if you like, but we're not gonna do that today. We're just gonna be cooking these at 275 degrees for 5 hours, and when they come out, they're gonna be perfect. They're gonna be nice and tender, juicy, and they'll have a nice bark on top of them as well. So go ahead and close this up. So there you have it. We've showed you how to take a normal spare rib, pork spare rib, break it down to St. Louis style. We coated the spare rib in mustard to allow our rub to stick to it, and we applied our dry rub. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you, and smoke on.